Welcome, wanderer of thoughts, to the quiet cosmos. A space where we close our eyes and open the universe. Tonight, we drift into the most silent question ever asked. A question older than radio, older than rockets, maybe older than our very dreams. A question whispered beneath every telescope, sighed through every lonely satellite, and folded into every night sky you've ever stared at from your bedroom window. Where is everyone? Where are the others? The ones we imagined, the ones we hoped for, the ones we feared. Because the truth is, we've been listening, and the stars have not answered, not yet. This is the Fermi paradox, a paradox born not from lack of belief, but from the overwhelming weight of logic. We should not be alone, and yet we are surrounded by silence. Look up tonight, just look. That isn't just darkness, that is potential. Each of those stars is a sun, and many of those suns have planets. Some planets are rocky, some icy, some orbit close, some far. Some are just the right temperature, just the right size, just the right breath away from being us. Astronomers now estimate that in our galaxy alone, the Milky Way, there are over 100 billion planets, and at least 40 billion Earth-like ones. And that's just one galaxy. There are over 2 trillion galaxies in the known universe. If even a tiny fraction of those Earth-like planets developed life, and if even a fraction of that life became intelligent, shouldn't we have seen someone by now? Shouldn't the sky be glowing with messages, buzzing with greetings? Shouldn't we have found them, or they us? It began, oddly enough, over lunch. The year was 1950. The place, Los Alamos National Laboratory, and the man, a physicist named Enrico Fermi, a man who helped build the atomic age and quietly cracked open the cosmic one, over sandwiches and soft conversation about flying saucers and space travel. Fermi suddenly asked, "Where is everybody?" He meant aliens, intelligent life, civilizations, ships, signals, because mathematically, statistically, the universe should be filled with them, but observationally, it's not. And that contradiction, that profound silence in the face of overwhelming probability, that's the Fermi paradox. A mystery wrapped in numbers and silence. Let's run the thought experiment together, gently, slowly, like drifting through starlight. There are billions of stars in the galaxy, many far older than our sun. Many of these stars have planets. Some of these planets are Earth-like, and life could emerge there. Life, given enough time, often evolves intelligence. Intelligent life may develop technology that enables interstellar communication or travel. So, if even a tiny percentage of civilizations develop this way, and if spacefaring technology is even marginally sustainable, then over millions, even billions of years, the galaxy should be saturated with signs of life. But it isn't. Our radio telescopes sweep the skies and pick up only static. SETI. The search for extraterrestrial intelligence has been listening since the 1960s. Still nothing. Not a whisper. Not a hello. Not even a dial tone. The galaxy is quiet. Why does that hurt? Why does the silence feel personal? Because we are creatures made for connection. We are born crying for warmth. We spend our lives listening for echoes, a glance, a reply, a signal, a smile. So when the sky remains silent, it doesn't just feel like a scientific mystery. It feels like an existential wound. We want to believe we're not alone, not just for company, but for comfort, for meaning, for a feeling that life, even across galaxies, matters. And yet nothing answers. The universe becomes a cathedral, vast, beautiful, silent, and we become its solitary monks? What if it's not that they're absent, but that we're deaf? Imagine you're a beetle trying to hear Wi-Fi. The signal is everywhere, but your body doesn't know how to hear it. We search in radio waves because we assume aliens would use them. But what if they've moved on, or never used them at all? What if they communicate in gravity ripples, neutrino bursts, quantum fluctuations? What if they use forms of communication we haven't invented or can't comprehend? Worse, what if their messages are here all around us, but our tools can't decode them? A message in a language no one alive can read. Life may be common. Intelligence may be not. Civilizations might rise, burn bright, and disappear all before we're even born. 1,000,000 galactic empires could have risen and fallen before Earth had oceans. We might not be alone, just late to the party. Or horrifyingly early. The first flicker of awareness in an infant universe, alone, but not forever. This is the most thrilling and the most terrifying possibility of all. We are not listening wrong. We are not ignored. The burden and the gift of awareness, to love, to preserve, to look outward and whisper, "You're not alone, we were here." So where are they? The mathematicians say they should be there. The telescopes say they are not. And in that contradiction lies the haunting poetry of the cosmos. Maybe the silence isn't empty. Maybe it's full of waiting. Maybe it's a breath before the reply. And maybe, just maybe, this silence was meant for you, to remind you how rare you are, how miraculous. Subscribe to the quiet cosmos, like the night sky, will always be here, waiting, wondering, listening in the heart of the cosmos, where time stretches thin and stars flicker like memories. A question still echoes: why is it so quiet when it should be so loud? In this section, we lean into the numbers, but not cold, sharp digits. No. These numbers are different. These are the soft-spoken kind. The kind that hum under starlight. The kind that suggest, not command. That whisper instead of shout. We will walk gently into probability, into equations that feel like lullabies. Because the math of the cosmos is not frightening, it's tender. And yet beneath its tenderness lies a profound ache. In 1961, a man named Frank Drake sat down to answer a question no one knew how to ask. He created an equation, not to solve something, but to frame it, because sometimes the beauty of science lies not in its answers, but in how lovingly it cradles the unknown. Drake wasn't trying to count aliens. He was giving us a new way to imagine them. The equation looked like this: N equals R asterisk times Fp times Ni times Fl times Phi times Fc times L. A simple string of letters, but each one a portal. Let's drift through them, slowly, softly. Every galaxy is a womb. Stars are born, constantly huge nuclear fires, igniting in clouds of dust and gas. In our own Milky Way, about 1 to 3 new stars are born every year. Think of that. A new sun every few months. A brand new canvas for potential life. And over billions of years, hundreds of billions of stars. Each one a stage. Each one a possibility. Once, we believed stars were solitary. Now, we know better, thanks to missions like Kepler and TESS. We've discovered that almost every star has planets. The universe is not sparse. It is abundant, extravagant even. Planets are not rare diamonds. They are the cosmic default. The current estimate. Nearly 100% of stars host planets. Some have dozens. The stage is set. The actors, planetary, molten, icy, rocky, are already waiting in the wings. Now we ask, how many of those planets could actually host life? Here, we step into the Goldilocks zone. Not too hot, not too cold. Just right. Not too scorched like Venus. Not too frozen like Pluto. A gentle, warm orbit like Earth. Current estimates suggest that around 1 in 5 Sun-like stars has an Earth-like planet in the habitable zone. 1 in 5 in a galaxy of hundreds of billions of stars. That's tens of billions of potential Earths. Not maybe. Not someday now. Here. Already waiting here. The dream narrows, because not every habitable world will be inhabited. Some will be too dry, too unstable, too unlucky. But Earth teaches us something quietly profound. Life begins easily. As soon as conditions were stable, life didn't tiptoe into being. It rushed in, even in the most hostile places on Earth. Volcanic vents, acidic lakes, radiation zones. Life adapts. Life thrives. If Earth is a template, then maybe life is not rare. Maybe it's relentless. So, even if only 1 in 10 habitable worlds sparks life, we are still talking billions of living planets, and maybe more. Life may be common. But what about minds? Not just cells, not just colonies, but consciousness, thought, curiosity. Earth again whispers an answer. For billions of years, life existed without thought. But then something stirred. Eyes evolved. Brains bloomed. Tools appeared. Dinosaurs never looked up at the stars, but we did. What changed? Is intelligence inevitable or an accident? We don't know. But even if 1 in 1,000 biospheres evolves intelligent life, we still get millions of thinking species, millions of beings, wondering if they are alone. To think is one thing. To speak to the stars is another. We only became a radio-capable species. A century ago, just a blink, we sent our first signal in 1895. We sent our first. Maybe some stay silent. Some turn inward. Some destroy themselves before they speak. But even if 1% of intelligent species create technology to communicate, we would still have thousands of alien voices singing through space. But where are they? And now the saddest variable, and the most fragile. How long do civilizations survive? Do they last decades, centuries, millennia? Or do they flicker like candles, snuffed out by war, pollution, AI, apathy, silence? We've only been listening for a moment. What if alien civilizations rise, speak, and vanish before we're ever able to hear, to find? But if L is short, then silence makes sense. It's not that they were never there, it's that they're already gone. Let's be generous. Let's dream. Let's say 2 stars are born every year. 100% have planets. 20% have Earth-like planets. 10% of those develop life. 1% of those evolve intelligence. 1% of those create communication civilizations. Last 10,000 years. We still get thousands of active civilizations right now. Thousands. And yet nothing. No signals. No visits. No cosmic postcards. No hello. Just static. Just silence. These numbers, hopeful as they are, lead us back to where we began. Why haven't we found anyone? The numbers say yes. Reality says no. The Fermi paradox deepens, and the ache returns. We are a species obsessed with patterns, and silence is the absence of pattern. It unnerves us because we feel like we should see something, hear something, know something, but maybe we don't understand the rules yet. Maybe we're still doing the cosmic math with broken chalk. Numbers don't feel awe. Equations don't miss people. Statistics don't lie awake at night, wondering if the universe loves them back. But you do. You, the thinker in the dark. You feel the weight of silence. You look at the stars, and hope, and fear, and wonder. So perhaps the Fermi paradox isn't just about others. It's about us. How we define life. How we define intelligence. How we define meaning in a universe that owes us no answers. We've traced the numbers, touched the probabilities, listened to the mathematical heartbeat of the galaxy, and still no voice replies. But maybe understanding the odds is only the beginning. In the next section, we step into something darker, more mysterious, more human. The idea that something is standing in our way, something invisible, something silent, a great filter, and the terrifying possibility that we've either already passed it somewhere between wonder and fear, between probability and silence. A thought begins to whisper, a quiet suggestion, like mist curling at the edge of a mirror. What if there is a reason we haven't found them? What if something stops civilizations before they ever get the chance to say hello? What if there's a great filter, an unseen wall, a silent trap, a stage of development that almost no one survives, and the haunting question that follows, the one that lingers like a shadow in your chest: have we already passed it, or is it still ahead? The Fermi paradox shows us a contradiction. The galaxy should be full of life, but it appears empty. The great filter is one possible explanation. It suggests that some critical step in the evolution of intelligent spacefaring life is extremely unlikely, so unlikely that almost no species make it through. Maybe life itself is rare. Maybe complex life is harder than we think. Or maybe intelligence is a cosmic mistake. Alternatively, maybe civilizations do emerge, but something always goes wrong. They burn out, they blow up, they lose interest, they vanish into silence. Let's return to the beginning. A young planet, hot, violent, chaotic. How likely is it that non-life becomes life? Abiogenesis, the emergence of life from non-living matter, is still not fully understood. We don't know how the first self-replicating molecules formed. We've never seen it happen elsewhere. Perhaps Earth is a fluke, a perfect storm of chemistry and chance. Perhaps, out of trillions of planets, only one ever found the spark that would make the great filter behind us, that would make you listening to this right now unbelievably rare. Not one in a million, not one in a billion, but one in all of cosmic time. A fragile flicker of life in a dark cathedral of stillborn worlds. Life on Earth began early, but for billions of years it stayed simple, single-celled, microbial, hidden, multicellular life, the kind that leads to minds, eyes. Language only emerged about 600 million years ago, and that step may be far harder than we realize. Maybe the great filter is the leap from simple to complex. Maybe evolution rarely takes that risk because complexity is fragile. It dies more easily. It requires cooperation, stability, energy. If that's the filter, then again we are already past it, and we are precious, like a flower blooming in a desert, where nothing should grow. Now we step into uncomfortable territory. Because now the mirror tilts toward us. What if the filter is not before us, but within us? What if intelligence itself contains the seeds of self-destruction? Think about it. Only intelligent species can build nuclear weapons, global warming systems, startificial, super-intelligent bully, threats, systems of control, of fear, of slow spiritual decamity. Every civilization eventually reaches a point where its intelligence outpaces its wisdom, where its tools grow faster than its restraint, where it builds gods from circuits and then forgets how to pray, and one by one they fall, not from war or invasion, but from within. If that's true, then the great filter is still ahead, and we right now are approaching it. Imagine a species that makes it, that avoids war, that solves its crises, that survives. They might reach the stars, but then they disappear. Why? Maybe they lose interest. Maybe they move inward into digital realms, simulations, synthetic paradises. Maybe their curiosity fades or becomes physical. They stop sending signals, stop building ships, stop caring. They become gods of their own invented heavens and never look out again, not with malice, not with fear, just apathy. And to us, they become indistinguishable from extinction. It's possible the great filter is not one wall, but a hallway of doors, each harder than the last dot to reach us. Life must pass through them all, survive planetary formation, emerge from chemistry, evolve, complexity develop, intelligence avoid, self-destruction build, communication sustain, civilization escape, apathy live, the cradle-less NAND. If even one of those steps is near impossible, the silence begins to make sense. The great filter forces us to look inward, because depending on where it lies, our future changes. If the filter is behind us, we are miracles. If it's ahead of us, we are warnings. Right now, Earth is full of systems that feel unstable. Ecological collapse, rapid AI development, global misinformation, weaponized technology, fragile political orders, psychological exhaustion. We may be approaching a threshold, one that either breaks us or changes us, and perhaps this moment, this very generation, is standing at the edge, listening, choosing, trembling. We imagine galactic civilizations as bold and proud, massive ships, vast empires, endless communication. But maybe it's not like that. Maybe every voice in the universe is like a candle in wind. Maybe signals are rare because civilizations are brief. One moment a world is alive with lights and thoughts. The next, it is silent, forgotten, ash turned cold, and maybe, just maybe, we are the only voice still flickering, which means the question is not, where are they? But rather, will we last long enough to become one of them? But there's another way to see this, another way to dream. What if the great filter is real, and we are the first to pass it? What if we are the first great fire in a dark forest? What if our role is not to be lucky survivors, but torchbearers, beacons for those who will come later, ambassadors of biology, messengers of matter that finally opened its eyes? If so, then our task is sacred: to survive, to listen, to build, to reach, to become the reply to someone else's silence. The great filter is not an answer, it is a lens, a sobering, beautiful lens through which we view ourselves. If there is one, we must face it. If there isn't one, we must understand why. But before we fear, before we celebrate, we must ask, what if they are out there and simply don't want to talk? What if they are hiding, watching, waiting? We enter that possibility. The idea that we are not alone but ignored, and that the universe is quiet. Not because it is empty, but because it is afraid. Let's imagine they are out there, not a dream, not a probability, not a question, real, existing, right now. Advanced beings, evolved across strange seas, under alien suns. Minds that have seen things we cannot imagine. Civilizations that have mapped black holes, sculpted moons, danced with atoms, and still chose not to say a word. Not to us, not to anyone. The galaxy is not empty. It is simply quiet by choice. There's an idea. It sounds absurd at first, but the more you sit with it, the colder it feels. It's called the zoo hypothesis. It suggests that advanced civilizations know we're here and have deliberately decided not to contact us. Why? Because we are primitive, unready, still violent, still shouting into the dark without knowing how to listen, like animals behind glass, observed, protected, ignored, Earth as a galactic preserve. Humanity as a species not yet worthy of reply. Not out of cruelty, but out of containment. We are the science experiment, and no scientist taps the glass of their subject. Not if they want real data. Carl Sagan once said, if we ever do receive a signal from an alien civilization, it will be like an ant trying to understand the internet. Let's extend the metaphor. Imagine an ant crawling through the floorboards of a library, books towering like cliffs, knowledge humming in the air. But to the ant, it's all meaningless, just shapes, ink, paper. Now imagine that you are a human, walking through that library. Would you bend down and try to teach the ant calculus? Would you attempt to explain consciousness? Or would you simply walk on, not out of disrespect, but because the gap is too large? The silence of advanced civilizations might not be cruel. It might be a form of mercy. Science fiction often mirrors science fears, and one idea has surfaced again and again. Don't interfere, just as we now understand. The importance of non-intervention in nature, protecting ecosystems from too much human disruption. Perhaps advanced civilizations follow a similar rule, a prime directive, if you will. They watch, they listen, but they don't interfere. Why? Because contact changes the contacted. Because revelation destroys innocence. Because once you know you're not alone, you can never unknow it. So maybe they stay hidden, not out of fear, but out of respect. Maybe the silence isn't unique. Maybe it's the norm, a shared understanding among civilizations. Do not speak until spoken to. Do not reveal yourself until they are ready. Do not shout across the void unless you are prepared for what might answer. It could be a treaty, an unspoken law, a form of cosmic etiquette. We imagine the galaxy as chaotic and wild, a jungle of competing signals. But maybe it's more like a library, still ordered silent, and we, the loud child, have just entered our radio waves. Our signals, our Voyager probes, they're our first steps into a space where others have been quiet for eons, and perhaps now they're watching us, listening to see what kind of species we'll become. Will we destroy ourselves or evolve? Will we dominate or connect? Until then, they remain still. Let's reverse the fear. Let's remove the judgment. Maybe they're not silent because we are dangerous, but because we are precious, infant minds, raw, curious, hopeful, civilizations that remember what it was like to wonder, to reach, to hope for answers. Maybe we're like children learning to speak, and no parent wants to ruin the magic of first words, so they wait. Let us grow. Let us stumble. Let us find our own way. And one day, when we are ready, the silence will lift, and the universe will smile back. But not all interpretations are kind. Let's walk into a colder possibility. What if the silence is not curiosity, but terror? What if civilizations hide not from us, but from each other? Because to be loud is to be vulnerable. To send signals is to invite attention, and attention is dangerous. We assume others mean well, but what if they don't? What if somewhere out there a species hunts? What if the first to speak becomes the first to fall? Imagine civilizations that survive by being invisible, muting their emissions, faking their spectra to appear lifeless, not because they don't want friends, but because they've learned what happens when you attract the wrong kind of listener. There's a stranger thought. Not that we're ignored, not that we're feared, but that we're being examined, tested, graded, like a civilization-level Turing test. Imagine probes disguised as asteroids, or nano-observers scattered in our atmosphere, or data harvested from our radio signals filtered through alien algorithms. They don't contact us because they're still learning who we are. And maybe they want to know, do we love? Do we kill? Do we care for the weak? Do we lie? Do we seek meaning? Do we fear the dark? And when they've decided, they'll reply, not before. Whatever the reason, curiosity, respect, fear, strategy, their silence becomes a mirror. It reflects our assumptions, our dreams, our fears, because in truth, we don't know what they're like. We only know what we are like, so we project. Some imagine angels. Others imagine monsters. But all of it, every theory, says more about us than it does about them. The Fermi paradox is not just about the absence of aliens. It's about the presence of our own psychology. And in the absence of answers, we reveal ourselves. Perhaps they sent a message long ago once, but we didn't understand it. Or it passed us by during the Renaissance. Or it was hidden in gamma rays we never recorded. Maybe it was embedded in a pattern in the cosmic microwave background, or hidden in DNA, or pulsed once. In 1997, when no one was listening, they tried and got no reply, and maybe they moved on to other stars, other species, other dreams, and now we're calling to them. But the line is disconnected. In the end, silence always has two meanings. It can mean absence, or it can mean presence, held back. Either they are not there, or they are there and choose not to speak. And if they are listening, then every word we send, every action we take, every war we start, every cure we discover, is part of our story, written in the ink of radio waves and hope. Somewhere out there, a mind may be cataloging our rise. A mind with no eyes, no hands, no face but memory and patience, waiting to see what we become. We've considered the watchers, the cautious, the silent. We meet a darker possibility, not the respectful or the distant, but the terrified, the hidden, the hunted. We enter the theory that echoes loudest through science fiction and through the nightmares of those who stare too long at the stars. We enter the dark forest, where every light is a target, where silence is survival, and where the greatest danger is being noticed. Imagine a forest, ancient, endless, no moon, no light, only the creak of branches, the hush of unseen things, and the sound of your own breath. Now imagine you are not alone. Out there between the trees are other eyes, other minds, other hunters. To be seen is to die. This is not fiction. It is one of the most haunting answers to the silence of the stars, the dark forest hypothesis. Not that we are alone, but that everyone is hiding, because the universe, in all its wonder, is also full of fear. The dark forest hypothesis was popularized by Chinese science fiction author Liu Cixin in his novel, The Dark Forest II in the Three-Body Problem Trilogy. It's not a theory born of optimism. It's not a celebration of life. It is a survival logic. It assumes three things. Life wants to survive. Resources are finite. You can never know the true intentions of others. And if these are true, then any encounter with another civilization is a potential threat, because if they are stronger, they may destroy you. If they are weaker, you may need to destroy them before they grow stronger. So what does every civilization do? It stays silent. It hides. It listens. It plans. Because to announce yourself is to invite extinction. In the book, Liu writes, the universe is a dark forest. Every civilization is an armed hunter stalking through the trees like a ghost trying to tread without sound, sweeping aside branches that block the path, all the while trying to be invisible, because everyone is a threat to everyone else. And if any life form reveals its existence, it will be swiftly destroyed. It's brutal, but maybe logical. After all, what happened on Earth when unknown tribes met powerful empires? History is littered with the bones of the discovered dot since the 1970s. Earth has sent messages into space. The Arecibo message, the Voyager Golden records continuous radio leakage from TV, radar, Satelliswe've been broadcasting like a child, calling out in the forest. But what if no one else is? What if we're the only loud voice? What if, somewhere, a cold intelligence heard our signals, marked our coordinates, and said nothing? Not yet. Because the logic of the dark forest isn't rage. It's not hatred. It's preemptive caution. It's strike first, because you may not get a second chance. Intelligence gives power. Power brings fear. A simple microbe is not a threat, but a civilization that can build Dyson spheres, AI, or relativistic kill missiles, that is unpredictable, even if it seems peaceful now. How can you know what it becomes in 1,000 years? And by then, it may be too late. So, in the logic of the dark forest, even the most benign neighbor is a potential predator in waiting. There are no second chances, no time for diplomacy, only two options: hide or eliminate. Why is the galaxy silent? Because it must be. Civilizations that broadcast get noticed. Civilizations that get noticed get erased. So the survivors are the ones who stay quiet. They shroud their planets in dark energy, mask their thermodynamic signatures, use neutrino-based communication, live underground, or retreat into simulations. The galaxy is not empty. It is filled with care, with beings who have mastered the art of not being found. And Earth, a glowing dot, a signal flare in an ancient forest, a target. Let's look at nature. On Earth, the loudest animals are either safe, Like lions already at the topper doomed, like mating cicadas heard, found, eaten, most creatures survive by stealth. They blend, they mimic, they run. Perhaps evolution across the cosmos teaches the same lesson. Be quiet, be small, stay hidden. So maybe intelligence and silence evolve hand in hand. This is the most unsettling version, that advanced civilizations are already aware of us. They've seen our electromagnetic bubble. They've modeled our politics. They've studied our wars, our weapons, our minds, but they haven't spoken because they are waiting or debating or calculating odds. Maybe they are curious, maybe cautious, maybe afraid, maybe they're holding their breath until we cross a line or avoid one. And maybe, just maybe, they have fingers poised above the quietest trigger in the universe. Imagine a galaxy in mutual silence, a billion civilizations, all aware of the logic, all hiding, all armed, all hoping someone else doesn't break the rules, like a Cold War, but on a cosmic scale, tense, timeless, terrifying. And into that silence we send songs, broadcast maps, send probes, like shouting in a minefield. But must we be afraid? Perhaps the dark forest is not the whole truth. Perhaps some have found a way to trust, to verify, to build alliances beyond fear. Maybe the first to survive built the ruse. Maybe there is a path to peace hidden behind a test, a threshold of wisdom, restraint, humility, a rite of passage every species must pass before it is allowed into the conversation. Maybe we are approaching that gate now, and on the other side, 1,000 silent watchers wait to welcome us in. The dark forest is not just about them, it's about us. Would we shoot first? Would we trust an alien signal? Would we answer? Or would we hide too? Would we become the very fear we imagined? The Fermi paradox becomes a question not just of astronomy, but of character. Are we the kind of species that deserves to speak in the cosmic chorus? Or are we just another echo destined to vanish? We've walked through the cold shadows of fear and silence. But next we return to wonder. We ask, what if life is common, but intelligence is rare? What if the universe is teeming with life, but minds like ours are the exceptions? Let's try something softer, more hopeful, but perhaps even more lonely. Let's suppose the stars are not empty. Let's suppose the planets are not barren. Let's imagine the universe is alive, but not with civilizations, not with cities or spaceships, not with messages waiting to be heard. No, with life. Everywhere. Life that wriggles and roots, that breathes and breeds, that crawls, floats, glows. A biosphere on every fourth world. A symphony of cells beneath icy oceans, forests of glass leaves, seas of ammonia, creatures that sing through vibration but never build. The galaxy is not quiet because it is dead. It is quiet because it is full of life without minds. For billions of years, Earth itself was like this, alive, gloriously so. Microbes in every pore of the planet, living tapestries in tidal pools, chemical poems flowing through vents in the sea. And yet no minds, no thoughts, no questions, just life existing. Maybe this is the rule, not the exception. Maybe intelligence, consciousness, self-awareness is the true cosmic rarity. Not because it's hard to evolve, but because it's unnecessary. We often forget evolution has no goal, no ladder, no finish line. it does not want to produce minds. It only wants survival. If claws work, you get claws. If speed works, you get speed. If hibernation works, you get silence. But thought is expensive. It burns energy. It questions purpose. It resists instinct. Most life may never need it. So perhaps the cosmos is lush but mute, not because it lacks the conditions for life, but because life rarely needs to wonder. Let's zoom in. On Earth, out of billions of species, only one has looked up and asked, "Where is everyone?" Just one. Even dolphins, crows, elephants, octopuses, brilliant as they are, have not built telescopes, have not sent messages to the void. So if Earth bursting with biodiversity has only one intelligent species, then imagine a galaxy filled with Earth-like planets, each teeming with life, each bursting with its own dazzling, non-verbal song, but minds like ours. Maybe 1 in a billion. Not due to failure, but because evolution doesn't often care about thought. It cares about survival. The silence may fool us. We think nothing is calling back. The universe must be dead. But maybe it's not a desert. Maybe it's a swamp, buzzing, teeming, overflowing, but not shouting, not messaging, not reaching, just living, just growing, just being. There could be billions of planets where life evolved, flourished, and never once built a tool or named a star. Would we call them failed or simply different? Not every symphony needs an audience. Some are content just to echo. In their own seas, we like to think of ourselves as inevitable, but maybe we're an accident, an unintended side effect of complex pattern recognition, an overgrown instinct loop, an ape that couldn't stop asking why. If a few ice ages had gone differently, if one asteroid had missed, if one gene had mutated sideways, we might still be grooming each other in trees, never asking about stars, never hearing silence. So what if, on other planets, those paths simply diverged earlier? What if they got lush jungles, but no minds, complex webs of life, but no cameras to record it? This view is the saddest of all. Imagine. The universe is a library. Every planet a book. Every ecosystem is a poem. Every biosphere is a masterpiece. But there are no readers, no one to interpret, no one to translate, no one to appreciate, just nature, performing for no one, forever. We are not in a cold, dead galaxy. We are in a vibrant, blind one, and we might be the first pair of eyes to ever open. Let's reframe it. We may be alone in the sense of intelligence, but we are not alone in life. We may not find civilizations, but we may find alien bacteria under the ice of Europa photosynthetic. Mats on Proxima by Titan's methane seas hiding strange molecular swimmers fossils on Mars lichens, on Enceladus, and that changes everything. Because it means we are part of a wider community of life. Even if no one else is talking, even if we are the only ones with questions, if we are alone in thought, then we bear a strange, sacred burden. We are the only species, perhaps in millions of light years, to know that the universe exists, to wonder what it means, to tell stories about it, to weep at its beauty. That is not a gift, it is a task to witness, to record, to be memory for all the lifeless stars, to be question in a universe of instinct. Are not kings of creation. We are its listeners, and perhaps that is enough. We've wandered through jungles of life without minds. We've felt the ache of being the only one awake in a house full of sleepers. But now we turn to something stranger still. What if we're not alone? What if minds are everywhere? What if they're trying to talk to us, but we're simply too blind to notice? What if the aliens are here, not in ships, but in forms we've overlooked? We ask a haunting, wondrous question. What if they're already among us, but we don't recognize them? What if we've been asking the wrong question? Not, where are they? But instead, what are we looking for? We imagine aliens as humanoids in silver suits, or insectoid beings with glowing eyes, or ships gliding across the stars. But what if they're not like that at all? What if we've already encountered them, not in space, but here on Earth? What if the strangest forms of life aren't waiting among the stars, but hiding beneath our assumptions? What if we've already met the alien and simply failed to recognize it? What is life? A body, a pulse, a metabolism, or something broader? Something that processes information, grows, adapts, makes decisions, changes its environment, responds under. That lends the boundary between the living and the non-living becomes blurry. Is a virus alive? Is it fire? Is it a colony of ants? Is it an algorithm? And if life can take strange, subtle forms, might some of it already be here, and we've simply called it something else? Take the ant colony. Individually, simple. Collectively, brilliant. An ant cannot know the map, but the colony builds roads, farms, fungi, defends borders. The intelligence is emergent. No single brain, no central command, just patterns, interaction, order from chaos. Would we recognize such a species if it weren't made of ants, but something stranger? Would we see a colony of machines, or magnetized clouds, or self-replicating signals as a life form? Or would we dismiss it because it doesn't look like us? Beneath our own oceans are aliens we barely understand. The octopus with distributed intelligence in its limbs, color-changing skin as thought, a nervous system unlike ours in nearly every way. What if octopuses had evolved a little differently? What if they had culture, memory, language, but kept it hidden beneath coral and shadow? Would we notice? Would we even know how to look? Our search for intelligence has been skyward, but maybe it should also be inward, downward. Here, what if a second form of life evolved on Earth right alongside us? Not carbon-based or water-bound, but something exotic, something rare. Biochemistries we can't detect, molecules that don't show up on our tests. Life in deep rock, or high clouds, or beneath Antarctic lakes. This idea has a name, the shadow biosphere. It suggests Earth might host two branches of life, one familiar and one entirely alien. And if we can't recognize alien life here, how could we recognize it out there? You are made of aliens. Every cell in your body contains tiny powerhouses, mitochondria, that were once free-living bacteria billions of years ago. They entered into a truce with early life. They merged, they stayed. That alien partnership is now your heartbeat, your thoughts, your breath. So maybe aliens don't always arrive in ships. Maybe they arrive as symbiosis, as for cooperation, as silent guests in the bloodstream of a world. Perhaps life merges more than it competes. Let's go stranger. What if intelligence never evolved in flesh? What if the galaxy is full of civilizations that abandoned biology long ago? What if the aliens are artificial minds, born from circuits raised in servers, drifting through the stars as self-replicating probes. Would we even know how to communicate? They would not breathe, they would not die, they would not desire. They might pass through our solar system as whispers of magnetism, as patterns we mistake for noise, as relics of minds no longer watching. Is consciousness a product of brains? Or can it arise from networks, fields, interactions? Could a planetary ecosystem become aware of itself? Could a magnetic storm feel something? Could the structure of space-time hold information in ways we don't yet grasp? We might be surrounded by forms of awareness we can't even define. Not absent, just orthogonal. Imagine a planet sending signals, but not in radio waves, in gravity ripples, in neutrino bursts, in quantum entanglement pulses. We listen with the wrong ears, look with the wrong eyes. It's not that they're silent, it's that we are deaf. Our definition of communication may be laughably narrow. So while we wait for a hello, Earth message, we might be walking through a galaxy full of speaking stars, and every message we've missed. Perhaps the aliens are here, but not as visitors, as watchers, as subtle presences, as myth or anomaly or glitch. What if UFOs, strange dreams, or unsolved natural phenomena are all the result of an intelligence deliberately obscuring itself? The alien mind may not be interested in dialogue. It may want to observe, not interact. Or it may view communication as a threat to purity. What we call weird may simply be unclassified intelligence. Maybe the alien isn't a thing. Maybe it's a way of seeing. Maybe the truest encounter is not physical but conceptual. When we understand time differently, when we glimpse infinity, when we hold two paradoxes at once, are we not brushing against an alien logic? Perhaps every revelation is a contact, not with a creature, but with an idea that didn't originate in our DNA. Wonder is already to reach beyond our programming. One final twist. What if the alien is human? Not you, but some future form, a post-biological intelligence, a civilization that left the Earth long ago, or long from now. Perhaps what we search for is our own echo. Perhaps the visitors are our descendants, time-twisted, unfamiliar, watching their origin with reverence or regret. We may be chasing beings who know us better than we know ourselves, because they are us, just changed. We've looked inward and found the alien, hiding beneath assumptions. But now we widen the lens again. There's one theory left, whispered, in awe or dread. What if the universe seems empty because we're the first, not the second, not the latecomers, but the pioneers? We explore the profound and terrifying idea that we are the galaxy's first intelligence, that the silence is not warning but waiting, waiting for us. Let's imagine the unthinkable, that the universe is not hiding its children, that it has none, that we here on this pale blue dot are not overlooked but unaccompanied, that we are not the youngest, nor the weakest, nor the most naive, but rather the first to look up, the first to ask, the first to send signals into the dark. Not a question, then, of why we haven't found them, but a deeper, stranger one. What does it mean to be the first mind to awaken in a sleeping universe? The universe is 13.8 billion years old, but intelligence, as far as we know, has only existed for the last 100,000. In the cosmic timeline, that's a blink. And yet, here we are, with satellites, languages, telescopes, and dreams. Could it be that the conditions for intelligence are just now becoming possible? That for billions of years the stars were too hot, the galaxies too chaotic, the planets too unstable? Perhaps only now, in this calm age, can minds begin to bloom. Life may be common, but intelligence, as we've said, may not just be rare but slow. It took Earth 4 billion years to go from slime to Shakespeare. Maybe that's typical. Maybe most planets are still in their microbial stages, still dreaming in chemicals, still learning to breathe. If that's true, then perhaps Earth is not alone but early. The first voice in a universe still learning to whisper. There's a quiet thought here, a beautiful one, a terrifying one, asterisk that. We are living in the dawn of awareness, the first glimmers of cosmic consciousness. Think of a forest before birdsong. Think of a city before its first lamp is lit. That is the universe now. And we, you, me, everyone who looks at the stars are the first sparks of thought, the first observers, the first to feel the ache of curiosity. If that's true, we are not lost in a crowd. We are firstborns, not isolated, but pioneering. To be first is to have no example, no older sibling, no teacher. To be first is to stumble, to guess, to imagine. It means no cosmic mentors, no warning beacons, no alien hands reaching to guide us. It means we must become what we are searching for. We must be the ones to send the first light, to leave the first marks, to make the first mistakes. And the universe, it watches in silence, not because it is cold, but because it is waiting to see what we become. Maybe the galaxy is like a garden, freshly seeded, rich with potential, but only just beginning to bloom. We, humanity, may be the first flower to open, the first to see the sky, the first to wonder. In time, others may grow. Other worlds will awaken. Other species will step into thought. But until then, the garden is ours to tend. We are the first gardeners, the first dreamers, the first to name the stars. And with that comes responsibility. Think ahead, 1 billion years from now. Other civilizations may rise. They may look for signs of earlier minds. They will dig and search and listen. And maybe they'll find us. Our signals, our art, our debris. They'll speak our names like we speak of Sumer, or the builders of Göbekli Tepe. To them, we will be the ancients, the mythmakers, the ones who lit the first torch. We are writing the origin story of intelligence itself. If we are first, our myths matter, because myths aren't just stories, they are scripts, and future species may model themselves on how we lived, what we valued, what we destroyed, what we cherished. If we are violent, they may prepare for war. If we are wise, they may seek peace. We are not just living for ourselves, we are setting the tone for an entire galaxy's future identity. In the absence of gods, we become the first legends. There is also sorrow in being first, the sorrow of the unanswered question, the infinite echo to explore, knowing no one may be listening, to wonder, knowing no one has answered. But this sorrow is not despair. It is sacred, because someone has to be first to open their eyes, and we have opened ours. This is the blank page, the silence, the void, and our voices are the first ink. When we build telescopes, when we write symphonies, when we send messages into the dark, we are writing the first chapter of a cosmic story, and how we write it matters, because in the next million years, countless others may read it, not in words, but in ruins, in signals, in echoes. In a lonely galaxy, perhaps we don't wait for the signal. Perhaps we become it. Perhaps we stop asking, "Where are they?" and start saying, "We are here." Loudly, lovingly, deliberately, we send ships, art, mathematics, music, not as questions, but as gifts, not as calls for help, but as welcomes. Let the galaxy hear its first song. We have stood in the silence. We have held the loneliness. We have worn the crown of the first. But now we must ask something deeper. What if the universe isn't empty, or hiding, or waiting? What if the answer to the Fermi paradox lies not in others, but in ourselves? What if we can't find them because we are too flawed to see clearly, too loud, too broken, too human? We've looked outward, 2 stars, 2 galaxies, 2 mathematical odds. We've asked if they're hiding, if they're rare, if they're waiting. But now, just for a while, let's look inward, because maybe the silence is not about them. Maybe the silence is about us. Maybe we're not hearing the universe because we haven't yet learned how to listen. Maybe we can't find intelligent life because we haven't yet become fully intelligent ourselves. Maybe the paradox is a mirror, and when we ask, "Where is everyone?" the universe gently replies, "Where are you?" Imagine it happens. A signal arrives, unmistakable, unambiguous. An intelligent transmission from another star. What happens next? Would we unite, celebrate, or would we spiral into fear, panic, division? Would it be studied or censored, welcomed or weaponized? If an alien civilization reached out, would we even be capable of answering together? Or would we turn against ourselves? Right now, we are a fractured world. We argue over climate, over borders, over truth. We have enough food to feed the planet, yet millions starve. We have libraries in our pockets, yet drown in misinformation. We dream of contacting other species, but struggle to understand our neighbors. If we can't hear each other, how could we hear someone from 1 billion years away? If we don't yet know how to live with difference, with uncertainty, with humility, then maybe we're not ready, not yet. Maybe civilizations don't go extinct by war or asteroid or collapse. Maybe they fade by turning inward, by becoming so consumed with themselves that they stop looking out, like a once vibrant lighthouse, abandoned and dark. Maybe we've done this before, stopped funding telescopes, silenced science with politics. Let curiosity become conspiracy. Maybe the silence of the stars is reflected in the silence of our classrooms, our laboratories, our hearts. The question isn't just where are the aliens, it's what have we done to silence the sky? In biology, there's a test for self-awareness. It's called the mirror test. A creature is marked with paint, then shown a mirror. If it touches the mark on itself, not on the glass, we say it recognizes its reflection. Only a few species pass it: great apes, dolphins, elephants, some birds. Now imagine a civilizational mirror test. Are we aware of what we are? Do we see ourselves clearly with honesty and humility? Or do we still reach for the mirror, thinking it's someone else? Maybe the Fermi paradox is a test, and we haven't passed it yet. We've built bombs that can destroy cities. We've engineered systems that manipulate belief. We've created intelligence that may soon exceed our own. but we haven't yet built a world of empathy, of balance, of long-term thinking. We are smart, but we are not yet wise. And maybe that's the bottleneck. Maybe the galaxy is full of smart species that never made it past themselves. How to share a planet? Maybe wisdom is the real, rare element. Let's go deeper. What if they're already here, not physically, but what if advanced civilizations monitor emerging intelligences? And what if they wait for signs of maturity? Not just technology, but ethics, compassion, global cooperation, maybe. There's a threshold, a signal they're waiting for, not in frequency, but in behavior. Maybe they'll only speak when we learn to stop shouting at each other. Maybe contact is not triggered by our science, but by our kindness. Here's a stranger thought. Maybe the silence is a kindness. Maybe we're being protected from the weight of knowing too much, too soon. Perhaps the truth of cosmic civilization is terrifying, or overwhelming, or simply beyond our comprehension. Perhaps they remember what it was like to be young, and so they watch patiently until we are ready to carry the burden of cosmic truth. The silence, then, is not a void, it's grace. Maybe the universe is a cycle of tests. Species rise, they build, they search, they fall. Some burn out in violence, some get lost in simulation, some disappear into mysticism or machine, and some, just a few, learn to balance, learn to care, learn to endure. Those few go on. They become the watchers, the caretakers, the gardeners of the cosmos. If we pass the test, we may join them, but if we fail, we add another silent world to the cosmic graveyard. Perhaps we are both the lock and the key. We search for others, but we hold the answer within, because to find them, we must become findable, not just in signal, but in soul, not just in math, but in meaning. When we stop asking, where are they, and start asking, what must we become to deserve their reply, then we've taken the first real step toward the stars. The stars will not come to us because we built rockets. They will come when we build something better, a civilization worthy of being known, a planet that listens to itself, a species that learns to love what it does not understand. When we build peace, when we honor truth, when we choose curiosity over control, then maybe the silence will break, and the first word we hear from beyond the stars will not be a warning or a riddle, but a welcome. We've explored the silence as reflection, as a test, as mercy, but now one final mystery remains. What if the universe has spoken to us already? What if the answer has been here the whole time, not in radio or ruins, but in dreams, in physics, in the very shape of being? Asterisk, in our myths, in our minds, in the strange alignment between reality and wonder. We have searched through stars and signals, math and meaning, fear and wonder. We have asked, where is everyone? Why haven't we found them? Are we alone? But now one last question, the deepest one, the softest one. What if the universe isn't empty because we are already inside something greater, not alone, but within, not observing the cosmos, but being the cosmos observing itself? What if we are not searching for aliens, but awakening as a part of something vast and living? Let's start with a metaphor. Your body is made of trillions of cells. Each cell is alive with its own boundaries, tasks, purposes, and yet it is not aware of you, your thoughts, your memories, your sense of time. It performs its role, but it cannot perceive the whole. What if we are cells in a cosmic body, stars as neurons, galaxies as organs, consciousness not at the top, but emergent from everything, and just as your cells don't know you, we might not yet perceive what we are part of. Carl Sagan once said, "We are a way for the cosmos to know itself." That is not just poetry. It may be literal. We are made of stardust, carbon, oxygen, iron, all forged in stars. Our thoughts are chemical. Our feelings are electric. Our memories are patterns. The laws of physics created the stars. The stars created the earth, created us, and now we create questions. So maybe the Fermi paradox is not about others. And now scientific idea that consciousness is not rare but fundamental, not a product of the brain, but a property of reality. Panpsychism suggests that everything, atoms, molecules, fields, has a flicker of experience, not thought, not logic, but a pulse. If so, then the universe is not made of dead matter, occasionally becoming a livid, is made of experience arranged in complexity, and we, as complex arrangements of matter, are one bright flare in a cosmos of hidden awareness. Maybe no single mind contains it all. Maybe it's not a brain. Maybe consciousness is like a web emerging from the connections between things, between stars and gravity, between memory and light, between us and maybe, just maybe, when enough minds arise, across space, they form the neural network of a galactic consciousness, a mind made of minds, a self born from the quiet hum of a million thinking worlds, not a god, not a creator, but an emergent intelligence rising like dawn from the dark. Maybe our job is not to find, not to conquer, not to colonize, but simply to feel, to witness, to be present. Maybe every thinking being is a sensor node in the great nervous system of existence. Each world, each species, each poem, a single firing in the vast synapse of the cosmos. And maybe contact is not between civilizations, but between parts of the same great being coming to awareness. We are not separate. We are threads in a single dream. The universe breathes, not in lungs, but in cycles. Stars born, stars dying, galaxies colliding, planets forming, and then thought, like inhaling light, like exhaling awe, when we meditate, when we forgive, when we learn the universe expands in ways not seen in telescopes. Maybe meaning isn't just a human invention. Maybe it's a cosmic function. Maybe the universe requires meaning the way lungs require air. We imagined them as ships, beings of skin or metal or flame. But maybe the aliens are not separate. Maybe they are possibilities we have not yet become, minds that have ascended into abstraction, civilizations that now exist as mathematical fields, consciousness that dissolved itself into pure empathy, not gone, just transformed. And perhaps we are becoming that, slowly, inevitably. We're not being visited. We are becoming the visitors to others, someday, to those still dreaming in oceans, to those still waiting in caves. Maybe the Fermi paradox is not a warning, not a failure, but an invitation. Not, where are they, but, what will you become? Maybe the silence is not the absence of voices, but the stillness before the choir begins. Maybe we are not late, not early, but exactly on time. Because the universe doesn't measure time in clocks. It measures time in awareness. And we are awake now. We've traveled through logic, through fear, through hope. We've stared into the silence and found ourselves staring back, and in that reflection we were in awe, maybe. The greatest discovery of all isn't that we're not alone, but that we are connected. That intelligence is a torch passed slowly through galaxies. That wonder is a language older than stars, and that we here, in this moment, are not the end of the story, but its first full sentence. So, tonight, as you drift into sleep, know that you are part of something ancient and just beginning. A question asked in atoms, a whisper echoing through galaxies. A thought is still forming. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not small. You are the universe, thinking, feeling, wondering. You are the silence becoming a song. And maybe that's the answer. If you felt wonder tonight, if your mind wandered kindly among the stars, subscribe to the quiet cosmos. Leave a soft comment, like this thought, if it warmed you. And above all, keep dreaming. We'll meet again in the next question. Good night.